Welcome to the Roost News, the place for all things volunteer. I'm Doretha McCoy, team member for the Roost News. With the vision of overall wellness, the AARP California office of Los Angeles launched a program in 2015 to help older adults remain active and connect with others. Today, we'll hear more about that program from Antoine Cook, AARP Associate Director of Advocacy and Community Engagement, and two volunteer leaders about the program called LA Steppers. Thank you, Patricia Smith and Rey Neal and Antoine, for being with us on the podcast today. Our listeners would look forward to hearing about this program. It's a really unique program. We're really all excited about it. But before we begin, I want you to briefly share more about yourself, if you will. What is your position at AARP? How long have you been there? And how did you come to AARP? Antoine, we'll start with you.
All right. Well, again, Antoine Cook. My position is Associate Director of Advocacy and Community Engagement in the AARP California State Office located in Pasadena. How long have I've been with AARP over 18 and a half years, 18 and a half great years. And in terms of what got me to AARP, I needed a job. I'm just to be 100% honest. I know a lot of people say they searched AARP out and they always wanted to work for the organization. I was looking for a position. And when I got the position at AARP, I realized what AARP was all about, what they did, and how they engaged the community. And I said, oh, okay, this is connected to what I've been doing my whole life. So I then decided, all right, this isn't just a job, right? It's a career, and it's something that I'm invested in. So it's kind of how I got to AARP.
Awesome. Patricia?
Well, I'm a volunteer and predominantly with the LA Soul Steppers. I've been volunteering since I think a couple of years pre-pandemic. And so that gives me a few years. Uh, I volunteered to actually get a little more involved in terms of registering the Soul Steppers as they show up. And my role has increased a little bit more in the last year or so. So, yeah, that's pretty much the way I started.
And how
Thank
about
you.
you, Ray?
Hi,
How
Doretha.
about you, Ray?
Hi. I'm I volunteered all my life, and I've been getting notifications from AARP pretty regular regarding Soul Steppers, and I just kind of didn't pay much attention to them. But when I left the workforce, I found that I didn't have as many social interactions as I used to have. So I figured I would go and visit, and the family atmosphere grabbed me right away. And at that time, we had maybe 75 members, so it looked like they could use some help. And since I volunteered all my life, I signed up, and I don't regret it.
Awesome. Awesome. It's all exciting to hear about our volunteers and our staff and how excited they are to be with AARP because it is a wonderful organization. So let's begin through and talk about a little bit more. Through programs such as LA Soul Steppers, AARP has been able to address older adults' physical, mental health, as well as well-being. Antoine, why did the California State Office believe this type of program would fit the LA or benefit the LA community?
Well, it's a great question, Doretha, and it's a long question, so I'm going to try to consolidate a little bit. But it really came from the community. Our state director, Nancy McPherson, and the associate state director at the time, her name was Jennifer Hobson. As a result of a lot of what we call listening posts that AARP had started to do back in probably around 2010, 2011, 2012, where we started having these opportunities at events where we would ask a question. And most of the questions in California and in the LA area were around what would make your community more livable for you. And a lot of the responses came back to say health, an opportunity to build community, healthy living activities, social connections, and wanting to have quality programs, safe programs, and common areas. And so Jennifer got back to our state director, Nancy, and said, this is what I'm getting. Would like to see if we can create some kind of program to bring some of this to life for AARP members in the Baldwin Hills community, which is predominantly African American Black. And Nancy connected Jennifer to a colleague of ours in the Louisiana state office. So there's a Louisiana connection to Soul Steppers, to where they actually have a walking group that's organized a little different. So of course, Jennifer talked to Laneta, and then she put an LA spin on it, and we created this great, or she created this great program where it started off once a month on Tuesdays at 6 a.m. at a mall. It was created by a gentleman named Eric Nall, also known as Coach E, and his wife Yvette. And they created the structure of the program, which was really built around family. It's built around family. It was built around active engagement and healthy living, and being caring about each other. And so that's really the kind of the foundation of it. And it just started to grow from 2015, which was the start of it, to the current day. And it was really, again, birthed out of comments that people shared about what they want in their communities to make them more livable.
So how were volunteers involved in the planning committee? Was there a planning committee? And if so, how were volunteers involved? What did they do? How did they help?
Volunteers at the time, when they were creating and trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, the volunteers were important in terms of like, would you participate in this? You know, it's just something that you would get involved in from an attendee's perspective. At the time, there weren't really any roles for volunteers like we have now. It was definitely just more of trying to get their perspective, utilizing volunteers as a sounding board to be able to say, okay, this would resonate or this won't. You know, so it was kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of how the program would live in community.
So to Patricia and Rey, why did you think the volunteers in the community embraced this program? Give me an idea why you think everybody's excited about it. I hear about it. I'm over in Los Angeles. I'm just a little too far to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's I look at it and I envy you guys. But tell me, why do you think everybody's excited about the program? Why do you think they embraced it and the community embraced it? What do you think? Rey, start with you.
You know, the thing that grabbed me right away is the family atmosphere. Um,
Hmm.
Coach E and Yvette really cultivated that, and also Antoine. Like Antoine is the administrator, but he's part of the family too. It's warm, it's welcoming. I look forward to seeing them every session.
Tricia, how about you?
Well, absolutely. The family format is just wonderful. But another big part of it, in my opinion, and I'm sure Rey and Antoine share this, is that it's non-judgmental, and everybody is expected to stay in their own lane, or encouraged to stay in their own lane, in terms of you walk as slow, as rapidly as you want. When you feel the need to take a seat, you are listening to your body, you're listening to the feedback from your body. And if your body says, take a rest, take a drink, and then join us a little later, because we walk for 30, 45 minutes, you're welcome to do that. And that keeps people coming back, because and we're constantly saying, the only competition here is with yourself. You're not competing with your neighbors necessarily, unless you want to. But the main competition is you're competing with yourself, and we want you to have fun. That's another one of the big rules. You must have fun. And the music that we play, Antoine has been instrumental in having a wonderful playlist, and it varies from time to time. And so not only are we walking, but we're dancing and we're grooving, and it's just a wonderful atmosphere.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Antoine, you mentioned that this program has been around since 2015 and is one of the longest running state programs. How did the program pivot during the pandemic to keep the participants interested?
Yeah. That's a very good question as well, and trying to consolidate because it was so much to try to absorb, of course, at the time. So as I mentioned, 2015 started off once a month, 6 a.m. at a mall, and all the way up until the pandemic, 6 a.m. But we also included another session, so we started doing second and fourth Tuesdays at 6 a.m. And we were the first session in May of 2015 had about 20 or 30 people. March 10th, 2020, we actually had about 75 people. And that was kind of the regular cadence, as Rey had mentioned, was that we were getting 70 to 75 folks at that point every morning at 6 a.m. And so when the pandemic happened, we were one of the first programs at AARP to go from in-person sessions to virtual. So we immediately pivoted to Facebook Live, and we right away identified the fact that there were going to be some challenges, right? There are some folks that maybe didn't have a Facebook account yet, or weren't necessarily comfortable with social media or technology quite yet. And we knew that we were going to have to make some adjustments. Interestingly enough, about a year before the pandemic, we created a private Facebook group for Soul Steppers. And the idea and the concept was that we would try to encourage people to do things in between the sessions. But we didn't know, of course, a year later, that would be our main channel. And so we also realized at that point when we went virtual, we had to also shift Coach E and Yvette's role within the program. So before they would help out with the warm up and cool down, give inspirational information and ideas and thoughts for people to stay healthy and active. And then we would observe people as they walked. Well, when we went online, when we became virtual, it became more of an exercise program instead of a walking group, where Coach had to pivot and change how the program was going to be active and implemented from a warm-up, cool down, healthy facts and information, and watching and observing to he was the only person on the screen. His wife was behind the screen. She had to deal with the lighting, the comments from chat, and everything else in between, technology working and not working, to make sure that what he did on screen was observable for people. And so that changed their responsibilities, it increased their workload, and also it caused us to also shift how we delivered everything. We tried to do it through Zoom at one point with Facebook Live, and early on in the pandemic, they weren't working well together. And so we realized, okay, it's only going to have to be Facebook Live, but we were really committed to making sure that folks had a great experience either way. So the pandemic caused us to shift a lot of things and really focus on how folks are observing the program from a virtual space and still able to connect some sort of way in the sessions and in between.
That's a wonderful thing of how you were able to actually pivot. For Rey and Patricia, how did you guys feel about it? Because I know the pandemic shutting everybody down, making everything virtual, especially for older adults, can be difficult. How did you guys embrace this new form of exercise, if you will?
Well, may I start, Rey?
Absolutely.
Please.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. For me, I'm a former dancer and I'm a current certified yoga instructor. So I really did not participate during the pandemic because I have my own fitness program, and the Soul Steppers is just a supplemental program for me. It enhances my own fitness program. So I did not participate. but I remained mindful of the program and supportive of it. And we would have meetings from time to time, even during then, via Zoom. And I participated as though, I mean, I was still a volunteer in my mind. Um, so I was just thankful that the powers that be in the organization found a way to remain connected to the community during the pandemic, and just speaks so highly of how important the community found the program to be, that we had so many people to continue to hang in there. And
And Rey,
Doretha, before I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
before I forget. So we currently meet at 8 a.m. So if that helps you, you said the 6 a.m. was a little
Oh,
foreboding, but we're at 8 a.m. now. So if that helps.
we'll see you at
That
the next
that helps.
session.
That helps. I'll have to leave at
Okay.
6 to get there, but I'll get but that
Okay.
does help. Rey,
Good.
how about you? How did you feel during the pandemic? Were you a part of it? Did you
Well, I'm a relative Soul Stepper rookie. I've only been with them for about a year and a half, so I missed the pandemic portion of it.
you missed part of, oh, okay. All right. But
I've only been with them for a year and a half.
oh, for a year and a half. Okay.
Mhm.
So I know that some of the other state offices, have also embraced this, but Antoine, when you reflect on the program's evolution, has it worked well? Is there anything you can hope to modify?
Yeah. There are some things, of course, that have gone well and that we want to continue to do. And then you're always thinking of the future, right? So how can you modify and enhance the program as we go along? Um, Not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, of course, but just making those tweaks here and there. And what's worked well with the program, honestly, has been volunteers having more participation and having a lead role in the program, like Patricia and Rey. We also have other volunteers, Olivia, Alberta, Joyce, Marla, that help when they can make it, doing registration, passing out materials and information, checking people in. All those different things are key to the success of the program over the years. Also working with, as I mentioned before, Coach E and his wife, them creating the program because they actually live in the community. The community is Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw area of LA, and they are there. They live it, they breathe it. They have a training a company that they own and founded, and they work with professional athletes, at people from all spectrums and levels. And so they were committed to having this program for the community, for older adults in that community. So they were bought in, right? And then we also had some people that were supporting us, some organizations that were supporting us. Those are all very important pieces of the success of the program over the years. Having it at a location that's well lit, that has security, all of those things, so people felt comfortable even coming, right? Those are all very important parts. And then what we started to do was we started to incorporate other pieces of healthy living to the program. Yes, we're talking physical activity, but we also know mental health is very important.
Hmm?
We also know social connections are very important. So we started incorporating workshops on caregiving, workshops on brain health, workshops on high blood pressure and diabetes, some issues that are prevalent in the Black community, and also other things around sleep and how important sleep is to healthy living. And then now, in terms of where we're looking in the future and continuing to enhance, we are meeting at a different location now, and I'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But we're incorporating a program that we have in California called Let's Take It Outside, and this is a program that explores outdoor spaces to bring more awareness to those spaces, to people, to the community. And so for Soul Steppers, we're looking at having a few sessions during the summer and fall where we'll go to a certain part of LA, like Exposition Park. and we do a bike ride around Exposition Park with a guide who tells us about the different facets of the location of the facilities there, going to different trails and being learning more about the trails, the history of the trails, and different things. So we have a couple of locations that we've identified in the LA area, and specifically in the Bowen Hills area, Crenshaw area, where we'll identify opportunities for folks to come out to learn about those locations under the umbrella of Soul Steppers. And then, hopefully they'll be able and interested in not just joining us, but starting some healthy living routine. That's what we want people to do. Healthy living routine, and use Soul Steppers, as Patricia mentioned, as a supplemental piece.
That is awesome. Now, you mentioned partnerships, and I know that you said there are partnerships along the way. Did you seek out specific partnerships, or did they seek you out to form a partnership with the program?
Yep. Both. We did seek out, as I mentioned, Coach E and Yvette. They were critical to the implementation of the program. We also worked with local radio station KJLH, which is owned by Stevie Wonder, to promote the program, to help market the program in the community. There's a radio personality on KJLH named Ade Lamar. She would come out to the sessions early on and encourage people, and as a way to draw people in. We worked with the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. They were the original host of the program, where we would be there again, 6 a.m. And so that meant folks were showing up like 5:30, 5:45. And they were critical to the success of the program, as well as when we started doing the workshops. They have a community room, and we would have the workshops on the first floor. The walk would happen on the second floor, and people would just literally walk around. And then when it's over, people would just go down the elevator to the first floor to the community room and participate in the workshops. And we also partnered with those folks who were doing the workshops. Some of the workshops were AARP workshops, but some of them were also with the sleep workshop was with a sleep professional from the Stanford University. The diabetes workshop was done through a local physician in the LA area. So a lot of different folks kind of had ties, whether they came individually or we asked them to come. And then right now, the partnership that we have is with the Crenshaw Family YMCA, which is literally maybe 200 yards from the mall. And we are there now at 8 a.m. Every second and fourth Tuesday. And they're a great partner because they want to do more with AARP. And so we took the opportunity to work with them, to talk with them, to get things planned. And now we are there and looking to do more things with the Y to bring awareness, not only to the Y, but to Soul Steppers.
Awesome. Patricia and Rey, how do you feel as a participant with all the things that this program has evolved and now offering? How do you feel you benefited from it? We'll start with you, Rey. How do you think you benefit from this program?
Well, I'm pretty physically active, so the activity portion is an extra, is a plus. But for me, the social aspect really hits home. When you leave the workforce, you're surprised to find out how much it was part of your social life, sadly. So you almost end up becoming a hermit. So it's good to get out and socialize with my peers. It's fun. I really enjoy them. They're great people. Have I said that? Great people.
Right. And the other workshops, the other part of the health workshops that they offer, have you participated in any of those? And if so, how do you think it has educated you in terms of like blood pressure or diabetes or any of the other things that they're offering? Have you taken advantage of those workshops?
Unfortunately, I live in Long Beach, so it
Ah,
takes me a while to get there. So the workshops usually start when I'm halfway home. So I
ah,
usually miss them, regrettably.
yeah. You, Patricia.
I certainly have to piggyback on what Rey said about the socialization piece of it, because also as a retiree, and kind of introvert of sorts. When left to my own devices, I can be a hermit as well. So the fellowship and the socialization and just the community connections have been just invaluable for me. Um, yeah, it's hard to put it into words how important that has become for me. Relative to the workshops, I've attended a couple. The one that stands out the most for me is a sleep workshop. I took that a few years ago because after retirement, I do sort of suffer with insomnia. So I got some really good information from the sleep workshop, and it also prompted me to even start working with the sleep department at Kaiser to help me with my insomnia. So the workshops, they're diverse, and we attract diverse participants because everybody's got their issues. They want to get information to mitigate. So yeah, between the connections, the community, the socialization, the workshops, Hugh has the AARP in that regard as a volunteer has become a very big part of my life.
There's been studies, and they vote out that seniors are some of the loneliest, if you will. A lot of them, it can impact their health, and
Mm-hmm.
I think this program really makes a difference in socializing and keeping people active. Because the more active you are, the younger you are.
Mm-hmm. And healthier.
So,
Yeah.
So, I know some of the other state offices in AARP are addressing the areas of well-being. Your program is well organized. What aspects of your program can you share with staff and with volunteers that they might consider to ensure the long-term success of their own programs, or either start a program within their state or their organization?
I'll start
Antoine?
with that. Yes, thank
Mhm.
you, Doretha. I think one of the most important things is listening. When I first started working at AARP in 2006, we were a little different organization when we were working in community. Oftentimes we would kind of go in with, "This is what we can do for you. This is what we bring." And then that started to shift around 2009, 2010, where we started listening to communities and hearing what the needs were, and then working to try to bring solutions, whether through AARP or through some community partners. And so listening is a very important part of the success of this program, and I think the success of any program. What does the community want? And what does the community need, based on hearing from the community? So that's a very important part. For this program specifically, anything like this is like location. As they say, location, 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 right? Having a central location that people go to. The hub when we started was the mall, which is a community mall, and had a lot of resources, has a community room, has a police department on site, and a lot of things from so having that location was very important because people knew about it, and they knew there was security there, and it was well lit, so people felt a little bit more comfortable. A place where people feel like they would even want to go to, right? So there's one thing to have all of that stuff, and then it's like, well, I really don't feel like going over there, or it's too far, like it's very far, or different things like that. But this is like kind of centralized in the community, and then including volunteers in not just the execution of the event, but Patricia and Rey are leaders for Soul Steppers. I incorporate them into the background work and to the nuts and bolts. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? We do a T-shirt design every year for Soul Steppers. So we're wearing different design T-shirts right now.
Ah.
And since 2015, there's been a new design just about every year. And the decision on the design, I don't make the decision. We send out a survey to the walkers. And we asked them, based on some concepts we get from a local designer, which one do you like best? Majority wins. And then we also work with a local printer to get the shirts printed. So everything is super local, right? And they're from organizations that are very diverse in terms of ethnicity and background, which are the same for the walkers. So it's a lot of that is important in terms of any other state office or volunteers or anyone kind of looking at how it can be successful, having the right people behind it, like Coach E and the vet who bought into it, launched, and would even support it on different programs that they were on. They were on different radio shows with KJLH, or they were on podcasts and they would kind of talk about it as well. So all of that is very important to making sure that a program like this could be successful and embraced by the community. Because if we just decided to do something because we felt it was important, but the community was like, I don't need that, nobody would be there.
Right, right. And also since you're saying volunteers has also played a key part into that, and Rey and Patricia, you say you do a lot of the background work. What all do you do in the background? What do you do to make this successful? Rey, we'll start with you.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I particularly assist in the setup. We greet the participants when they come. We register them. We set up the gym. We're checking on them constantly. Patricia?
And by checking on them constantly, what Rey is saying, I believe, is that we are constantly observing the walkers as they're walking, and we actively encourage them to listen to their own body for the feedback that they're getting. Again, as I said, if your body says, have a seat, if your body says, I need water, then please listen to it and, honor that. My role has evolved a little bit since we lost, or rather since the Coach E and his wife, who pretty much created the infrastructure of the program, since they've gone in a different direction. But I understand they still stay connected on some level, which we appreciate. So in my interest in helping the program continue or have some continuity, I stepped in to do the warm up and the cool down. And that's not an issue for me. As again, I said, I'm a former dancer and yoga instructor, so it's no big deal to conduct a warm up and a cool down. It goes with my own fitness program. So, and I also participate in the setting up and the breaking down and the checking members in, and I sidle up to different walkers and encourage them and mention things that I may have observed, like Miss Kathleen the other day. I said, Miss Kathleen, your form was so great during the warm up. So I try to provide those kinds of encouragements to the walkers, and it's completely reciprocal. I get as much value out of it as I hope they do.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. As we come to a close of this episode, it has been wonderful speaking with you about this program. I'm excited, and I will try to make it to that 8 o'clock. That 8 o'clock walk, I promise you.
Keep
But
a seat for you.
We'll save a t-shirt for you.
Okay, that sounds good. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about the program to the community, to the staff, and to others? Anything else about the program you'd like to share? Antoine?
I'll start. I'll say that one of the things that's very important for anyone like thinking about something like this, right? A program is, it might sound like, oh man, they're doing a lot. I don't know if I can do all of that. Getting started with, conceptualizing what it is that you want to try to do, what's the end result for folks is very important. But don't let like what we're talking about be a hindrance, because it's taken time for us to get to this this point, right? It's taken some time. It's taken some learnings, some things to start, some things to stop, and it's very important to really um, uh, plan things out, but don't do analysis by paralysis. That whole saying. It really
Yeah.
is just, hearing from what the community wants and thinking through what that looks like. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, as long as it's addressing the issues that are prevalent that bubble up from that community. And get volunteers into the mix. The earlier, the better. So that because I don't live in the community. So a lot of the input and the feedback comes from the volunteers who are either living in the community or nearby or just have feedback. One of the things that we do on a regular basis after the walk is over, we sit down and we debrief. How did it go? What did you think about today? Did you see so and so? Yeah, they kind of looked, well, they were a little bit slower today. So let's, keep an eye. Yeah, even things from the, where people park, it's like, okay, we got to make sure that, there are enough spaces for the other programs that come after SOSA. So it's very important to really think about the needs and the wants of a community and trying to bring a program to address it and get volunteers into the mix early and often.
Rey and Patricia, anything you want to share as volunteers? Patricia, we'll start with you.
Oh my goodness. I think I've said probably as much as I dare say at this point. Other than it's important that we make sure that the surfaces that we walk on are safe as well. So we operate rain or shine because it's indoors. So on a rainy day, we may have to do a little mopping as volunteers come in with their umbrellas. Or if it gets too hot, there may be a little dew or perspiration on the floor. And we have to make sure that we check stuff like that because we don't want any accidents. So
Mhm.
it's the constant observation process, and it's all about keeping people safe and happy and healthy. And we think we're doing that.
Rey?
I'd just like to say in conclusion that I'm thankful to be a part of this program. I appreciate AARP's involvement in our community, their commitment, and Antoine's commitment also. I mean, he's tasked with this, but he's committed to it, and it's appreciated. So just thanks for the opportunity.
Well, first
I
of all, I
second
want to
that.
thank, well, I
I
want to
definitely
thank you
second
all.
that. Sorry.
Great. That's okay. Well, I want to thank you all for being our guest on the AARP Roost News podcast. To our staff and volunteers, we encourage you to subscribe to our Roost News channel, our podcast channel on YouTube or listen to us on your audio version of your favorite platform. And of course, please invite your colleagues to join us too. On behalf of our Roost News podcast team, we thank you. Again, thank you all for participating in this wonderful program, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.